James and I have been at odds since kindergarten, almost like oil and water. From the very first look, I thought he was such a phony. Even when praised, he'd keep a deadpan face, wouldn't hang out with anyone, always sitting alone reading, playing at being deep. One day, I finally couldn't stand James' pretentiousness and took the initiative to go up and provoke him. And that's how our little war began. We'd compete over who ate more, who was taller, who scored higher, even who said fewer words in a day had to be settled. Under this constant rivalry, it wasn't surprising we both ended up at the same university. Different majors, sure, but every time we ran into each other on campus, instant verbal sparring. I never in my life thought I'd be walking home with James holding my hand for the holidays. 1 second ago, James was mocking me for dressing like an elementary school kid even though I'm in my 20s. The next, all sweetness. He takes my hand, ushers me inside with a soft voice, all warm and gentle. Uncle and Auntie, hello. These are for you. Some skincare I picked out, and tea for Uncle too. They're here. What's all this stuff for? Mom waved it off with a smile, grabbing the gifts. Dad pulled out a red envelope from his pocket and shoved it into James's hand. Happy New Year, son. Here's a little something for you. Go buy yourself whatever you fancy. I stared at the thickness of that envelope. My eyes nearly popped out. I was already plotting how to snatch it back, but Mom and Dad didn't notice a thing. They were too busy welcoming James in, completely forgetting their own son still standing barefoot at the door. I wanted to puke seeing James's fake sweet face. Before I could even think up a good jab, I heard my parents laughing again. Rooms are all set for you too. Just one thing, Samuel's bed's a bit small, so you'll have to squeeze in together for the night. Perfect. Now you can get cozy as a real couple. Ever since my 25th birthday, Mom's been on about finding someone. Now that the holidays are near, she's even more desperate. Set me up with blind dates every other week. That's when I met James, the 6th one in a row. Mom said he was an alpha type, built, good-looking, and best of all, his family had done well in business over the last couple years and made a little cash. Hearing that, I couldn't help but feel a tiny flicker of hope. But then when I got to our meeting spot, there he was, James, staring at me like he'd never seen anything so annoying in his life. Wait, isn't that Samuel? Small world, huh? Running into you like this after all these years. Still the same height, I see. James, did you just grow taller, or is your brain still stuck in last year's growth spurt? The moment I saw James, my originally bright mood instantly turned gloomy. But remembering the prior agreement, I fought back the urge to engage in a war of words with him, gave him a dirty look, and started looking around for the figure of my blind date. Maybe it was because we missed dinner time, but aside from the cashier, the whole restaurant was empty. Just me and James. I waited a few minutes, nothing, then pulled out my phone and dialed. Right as I hit call, James's phone rang too. And at the same second, I heard his familiar voice through my earpiece. Hello. James and I were each occupying a corner of the store, looking at each other from afar. He narrowed his eyes, looking in a really good mood, and even his tone was much more cheerful. Oh, so you're the tall, handsome little Omega I've been hearing about. No way. James circled me like I was some weird new species in a zoo. Back when we were in school, you said your test came back alpha. Claimed the Omegas chasing you would line up from the front gate all the way to the moon. How'd that turn into an Omega? It's true that the undifferentiated gender on my junior high school group medical report was alpha. But during the age when everyone else was differentiating, I just couldn't seem to go through with it. I didn't find out until I went to the hospital that it was due to gland hypoplasia. This caused the test results to be incorrect, and my secondary gender differentiation was also delayed until the year I graduated from college because of this. He leaned down, getting closer. A pleasant coffee scent wafted over. I pushed James away in disgust. What's the point of getting this close? And you're even wearing cologne? Seriously gross. James stumbled back a step from my push. That really hurts, you know? That's my pride and joy pheromone. But seriously, are you really an Omega? I can barely smell anything. Right now, I'm really glad I took an inhibitor shot before leaving the house. Otherwise, if James caught a whiff, he'd surely make fun of me, wasting my time. After finishing the last sip, I stood up to leave. But James yanked my wrist hard. Wait, got a deal to make. something that could work out good for both of us. After realizing that James wasn't pulling my leg, I sat back down. You better not waste my time with nonsense. Not a chance. Look, your family's pushing you to date, and mine's doing the same. Why not fake it? Just pretend we're together for the holidays. I frowned. At least pick someone we know, rather than some total stranger. And honestly, who wants to listen to the same old relatives nagging about marriage again? After saying that, James held out his hand to me. Once we're done with this, we split. I stared at those sharp, defined knuckles, hesitated a beat, then slowly closed my fingers around his. Fine, let's do it. Suddenly having someone else around the house made the dinner table feel a lot livelier. The older generation took turns chattering away, one after another. Just look at you two. Perfect match. Tell me about it. You guys better tie the knot soon and start working on giving us grandkids before we're too old to enjoy 'em. The image of James putting an effort on me made my skin crawl. And just to spite me, James turned his head toward me, enunciating each word clearly. Sure thing, Uncle and Auntie. I'll make sure Samuel and I do our best. The first thing I did when we got back to the bedroom was snatch the red envelope my parents had shoved at James, yank out 2 bills, and toss them at him. Here. These are your overtime pay. Then I dragged out a spare mattress from the closet, ready to make a floor bed for James. James was a bit reluctant. You want me to sleep on the floor? If you'd rather sleep in a trash can, I'm not gonna say no. Don't you care if Uncle and Auntie find out and give you hell? You want to talk back? I'll shove a sock in your mouth. I hadn't even finished the threat when Mom walked in, holding a steaming mug of milk. The second she saw me setting up that makeshift bed for James, her warm, sweet smile turned icy in an instant. Still, she kept her cool. Samuel, come out here. I need to talk to you. After getting a serious talking to, James finally got his way and ended up in the bed, slinging an arm and leg over me like a starfish. James knew that, after what had just happened, I didn't dare to make any more noise and get caught by the family, so he wanted to mess with me. I hissed, shoving him lightly while muttering, James, get off me. Seriously, you think I won't toss you out the window? Just try me. The more I struggled, the tighter James clung to me. He grinned like a devil, whispering in my ear, Sweetheart, we've been together this long. What are you even running from? I tussled with James for about an hour. It wasn't until my mom knocked on the door again that we finally quieted down. I punched James in the left cheek, swelling it a bit, but even though he got hit, he was surprisingly in a good mood, chatting with me off and on. Samuel, he said, voice light, is your vibe the kind that smells like fresh bread from a bakery? Has anyone ever told you that you're way cuter now than before? Samuel, you're not gonna sneak touch me in the middle of the night, are you? Samuel, you, one more word and I'm kicking you right off. I lifted a leg and pressed it against James's waist, warning him, what's with the attitude? I was just asking if you need some info stuff. Supposedly, it helps you sleep better. I inhaled the faint coffee scent clinging to James and rolled over. Whatever. I slept deep that night, but no matter how good the sleep, it never fixed my habit of being a squirming mess in bed. All that moving plus the tiny mattress? By morning, half my body was plastered against James. My head was resting on his shoulder and my left leg was draped over James's leg. Still groggy from sleep, I instinctively reached out, rubbing, squeezing, running my hands all over him, top to bottom. I instinctively grabbed, rubbed, and even gave a little pinch. I'd woken James up with my grip. He let out a muffled groan. My head was still resting on James's shoulder, so the muffled, raspy sound slipped straight into my ear. James pushed himself up, then let out a quiet laugh at what he saw. Samuel, didn't think you were this bold. My face burned. So hot I swear my ears were smoking. Embarrassment surged through me, and before I could think, I kicked James off the bed. Cut the crap. Go on and shower yourself. Leave. James rubbed his sore hip, feigning innocence. Can't really do that right now, can I? My room doesn't have its own bathroom, so if I wanted to shower, I'd have to walk through the living room and kitchen. And at this hour? My parents were already up. I muttered under my breath, pulling the blanket tight around me and facing the wall. No matter what you're doing, just knock it off already. I do have a way. That warped voice made my head spin. Then the thickening air around us turned me into nothing but a fully cooked shrimp. James could actually sound like that? I wanted to glance back. Just once, but the thought hit me so hard. I shook my head violently to knock it out. Still, my body didn't listen. I shot upright, steadied myself, and practically lunged toward James, desperate to see him face to face. I felt ashamed of myself for being such a coward, gritting my teeth and shoving James out of the room. After he left, I reached out a hand, grabbed the jacket James left behind, and quickly pulled it into the blanket, breathing in the scent clinging to the fabric. Couldn't help but sigh aloud. Weird, why didn't I ever notice how good an alpha's pheromones smelled before? After my shower, I found James flipping through my old photo album. All my embarrassing baby pictures, nose running, totally naked, were there for him to see. I stormed over and snatched it back. James, that's a serious invasion of privacy. He leaned back on his hands, his upper body muscles flexing into full view. Guess you're not as sharp-tongued now as you were when you were little. People really are impossible to judge by looks alone. I threw the towel at James' face. Are you a pervert? Put your clothes on right now. Can't, James whined. I accidentally got it wet earlier. Mind lending me something? I'm not exactly used to walking around bare-assed in someone else's place. Being an omega, my height stopped growing after high school. Stuck at a painfully disappointing 179 centimeters. James stood at 190, and my clothes on him looked tight, stretched taut over his muscles like something out of a dream. On the way to James' place, I couldn't even look straight at him. I just kept my eyes fixed on the scenery outside. The car went quiet, and James couldn't help but start talking to me again. Why so cold? Last night you weren't acting like this. You really should have that mouth stitched shut. Despite being scolded, James actually laughed. So, how'd you like my performance last night? Wasn't I convincing? Really pulled it off. Aren't you gonna give your brilliant teammate a little praise? Seriously, he was so convincing I could have punched him. Now watch me show you real acting. Throwing those words at James, I bounded up the stairs, all smiles and energy, greeting his family with a warmth that felt almost too good to be true. Uncle, Auntie, hi. You're even younger than in your photos. Hey there, little guy. Here's something for you. Honestly, I owe it all to Uncle and Auntie for setting us up. Otherwise, how would I have ever ended up meeting someone as amazing as James? With that, I looped my arm through James and waited to see him panic and give himself away. But James just blinked once, then smoothly recovered, planting a quick kiss on my forehead. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to them. After finishing the meal, I took the red envelope prepared by James' parents. Noticing James' gaze, I warily hid the red envelope behind my back. What are you staring at? That's theirs. Don't make me tattle. Yeah, it's yours. James nodded eagerly. I'm taking those few kids downstairs to set off some fireworks. Wanna come? Firecrackers are such a childish thing. I stopped playing with them back in elementary school, but considering I was new here, it didn't seem right to refuse. So I put on my clothes and followed James downstairs. It had snowed just a few days prior, and the courtyard below was freezing. My teeth were chattering like I'd turned into a statue. You really don't want to play? I shook my head firmly, tossing in a quick jab at James. I didn't think you'd still be into this kid stuff, even after all this time. Honestly, you're acting like a middle schooler. Well, maybe I am. So what? Want to take a swing? James shoved the last few sparklers into my hand. Hold these for me. Then he flicked his lighter, lighting up the fireworks for the little cousins while showing them how to draw shapes in the air. Hearing their laughter and shouts, I couldn't help but feel a spark of temptation. Seeing they were too busy to notice me, I slipped into the corner, pulled out my backup lighter, and flicked it on just to try one quick burn. Right as the flame touched the tip of the fuse, James materialized behind me like a ghost. If you wanted to play, why not just join in? What's with hiding back here? I jumped. My heart shot into my throat and shoved the lighter deep into my pocket. Who even wants to? This kid's stuff. Who cares, okay? I blew a sharp whistle to cover up the awkwardness. I'm not playing. Suddenly, someone wrapped around me from behind, warm coffee scent flooding over my shoulder. James grabbed my wrist, yanked me forward, and lit the remaining sparklers all at once with his lighter. Brilliant flames burst to life, streaking through the air in dazzling trails. Come on, big baby. Because of James' big baby comment. I chased him around more than half of the neighborhood and worked up a sweat. The first thing I did when I got back? Slam myself into the bathroom. When I finally came out, James was sitting there frozen, face twisted in some weird way. I followed his gaze and realized I'd only shut the half-transparent glass door of the shower stall. The main bathroom door? Still wide open. So James had seen everything. Every single thing I'd done while getting naked in there. I was shaking with rage. Why didn't you say something? I thought you were showing off your omega charm on purpose. I swung a punch. What the hell is wrong with you? Let me show you what my fists are really good at. I climbed on top of James and started pummeling him. No cheating. Take back your pheromones. Let's settle this like men. You're the one who shouldn't be using pheromones to cheat. We fought until well past midnight before I finally collapsed onto the bed, dragging a pillow between us like a trench. Tired. Time to sleep. Though I said it was sleep, I couldn't settle down. Maybe it was the draft downstairs. My body felt hot all over. James stirred awake from my movement and pulled me back. Where you going? I just want some water. Stay put. I'll get it. You don't even know where the kitchen is. After drinking, the heat didn't fade, it got worse, spreading through me until I started tearing at my clothes. My mind raced. Was James poisoning me? James? What did you give me? Huh? Just hot water. James frowned, pressing the back of his hand to my forehead. The cool sensation made me let out a sigh of relief, and I leaned my head closer to James' hand. Are you entering your sensitive phase? Your pheromones have been off the charts since earlier. I froze completely. I guess I rushed this morning. Yeah, I really didn't take my inhibitor. James says there's a 24-hour pharmacy just outside the building entrance. He'll go grab some for me. He'd barely stepped out when I started feeling this weird, creeping anxiety. My whole body was shaking. I paced back and forth like a caged animal. No matter what I did, that restless, unfamiliar feeling wouldn't fade. Panic clawed at me as I scrambled to find somewhere safe. My eyes finally landed on the half-open closet. When James found me, I was crouched in the corner like a scared kid. He handed over the inhibitor after tearing open the wrapper. But one shot didn't do much. My head still felt foggy and my skin burned with heat. I lunged for the rest, desperate to jab myself again. James reacted fast. He tossed the plastic bag out of reach. Samuel, you're not thinking straight. 2 shots in a row? That'll wreck your system. Wait at least 4 hours. I didn't care anymore. I grabbed onto James and just started sobbing. Just one more, please. Give it to me. I can't take this. I'm gonna lose my mind. James held me back, refusing to let me get any closer to the suppressant. No means no. I punched James, but I was so weak that the punch lacked any force. My mind became a complete mess, unable to think clearly. With the changes getting worse by the second, I couldn't take it. I just pressed myself against James's chest. His muscles tensed up. Under his pajamas, they rippled hard. I didn't have the time to pay attention to James' condition. All my energy was focused on finding that nice-smelling pheromone. You gotta give me some of your pheromones, okay? Don't just shut up. I'm about to die here. Fine. Inhaling James's scent, the heat in my body started to ease. But then I wanted more than just that. After every time I'd pushed through my sensitivity phase with suppressants, my body usually paid the price: headaches, dizziness, nausea, all normal stuff. But this kind of clarity, this energy, that was new. I sat there stunned, letting James haul me up for breakfast. I sat on the bed, dumbfounded, and let James pull me up to have breakfast. You barely slept last night. Now's the time to catch up. Only when we'd both napped hard did James finally drop me off at home. Then, for the next few days, he kept sending messages, just checking in, asking about nothing big. It wasn't until the two of us had enough sleep, James sent me home, and in the following days kept sending topics of concern and small talk that I finally realized. Me and James, the memory flashed back. The night before, I asked James to release his pheromones on my own initiative, buried my face in his body and sniffed, and even, most importantly, James didn't even resist. Instead, he got quite actively entangled with me. Is this even right? I shivered, grabbed my phone, and was about to decline James's invitation to hang out. The chat window went silent for a beat. Then James's message popped up again. The year's not even over yet. If we start pulling away now, people wonder what's going on. James took me to the amusement park. As soon as I stepped inside, yesterday's worries melted away, and I was back in full-on competitive mode with him. Whatever freaks you out, we're doing it: roller coasters, drop towers, pirate ships. For pride's sake, we pushed through, even when our faces were pale as ghosts, claiming we could ride a dozen more times without breaking a sweat. Sure, we said that, but our feet had already betrayed us, dragging us to a stop in front of the haunted house. I shot him a look and asked, "Scared?" James didn't even flinch. Yeah, I clapped my hands together, instantly reclaiming the dignity I'd lost 2 days ago when I was reduced to tears. See? All that muscle and alpha energy mean nothing. Still scared stiff. I waved him off and strode straight into the haunted house. "You can stay out here, coward." James admitted he was scared, but didn't stop walking. He followed right behind me as I went in. The deeper we went, the darker it got. The creepy sound effects and sudden appearances of real-life NPCs had even me on edge, hair standing up. James stayed silent, just keeping pace behind me like a shadow. Just as I was about to turn around to check if he had gotten lost, James suddenly rushed over in a flash, huddled up and hugged my waist. "Samuel, this is insane. You scared?" Seeing him huddled like that, a rush of pride and warmth flooded me. The fear I'd felt just seconds ago vanished. I put my arm around James' shoulder and pulled him closer to me. "Look at you, all shook up. Relax, it's just fake. I've got you. Let's get out of here." "Thanks, Samuel." James clung tighter, like he was trying to burrow straight into my shirt. Out of sight, James gave a subtle twitch of his lips and slipped a finger under the zip of my jacket, creeping inside. The further we went, the more unnerving it got. But with James tucked against me, even if I was half collapsed from fear, I kept pretending to be cool as hell. When we finally reached the end of the path, I was able to let go of James and leaned against the nearby wall, gasping for breath. James stepped in quick, zipping up my jacket. No idea when it had come undone. "Holy hell, Samuel, you're insane. I didn't think you'd have this kind of nerve." "I give up, totally beat. Thanks for getting me out of there. I don't even know what I would have done if you hadn't been with me." Hearing that, my breath came back steady, legs not wobbling at all. I fought down the grin tugging at my lips and rubbed the tip of my nose. "What's the big deal? Don't mention it." Honestly, I love seeing James freak out like that. Hell yes. On the ride back, James was already brainstorming their next trip spot. I listened half-dazed, until it finally hit me, what I'd been thinking about yesterday. "James," I cut in, "you're not forgetting we're just playing along, are you? The year's practically over. We don't need to keep this up anymore. We're never gonna be anything real anyway. So why keep texting like we're actually close?" James went quiet, eyes fixed ahead. The whole car felt thick with something off. It wasn't until the car stopped downstairs that James finally replied with a soft, "Yeah." James never reached out again, and our chat log froze on the day we went to the amusement park. As time wore on, my mood grew increasingly restless. Frustrated by not knowing why, my fingers flying over the office keyboard like gunfire. Mom must have picked up on something, sneaking past my door now and then to snoop around. "Hey, you and James fight or something?" I turned over with a grumble. "No." "Then why you been so down lately?" She gave my back a light slap. "Is it Valentine's Day soon? I just bought a few boxes of chocolates. Why don't you bring one to James when the time comes?" Who'd even give him anything? The next day, I met up with James after work and drove over to his office. As soon as I stepped out of the car, I saw James walking through the main gate. James is really good looking, coupled with his tall stature. He stands out even among a group of outstanding guys. It's hard not to notice him. He moved with the flow of people, smiling faintly, lips moving as if chatting with someone. And beside James was a beautiful woman with long hair, dressed to the nines. James caught my gaze and waved goodbye to her before striding over in 2 quick steps. "What's up?" I instinctively tucked the chocolate behind me, playing it cool. "So, your girlfriend's an Omega? She's really something, pretty as a picture, but you've already got someone, so why are you out here on a date? Wouldn't she get jealous?" James narrowed his eyes like he was about to say something. but I cut him off first. James frowned and was about to say something, but I cut him off first. No need to explain. Don't worry. Given our relationship as fake lovers, no matter what your reasons are, I definitely won't go around blabbing. And I took out the chocolate from behind me and held it out in front of James. This one's for my boyfriend. Thought you might like a box too. James's face darkened in an instant, his breath brushing against my fingertips. You've got a boyfriend? When did that happen? You're checking my records or what? I shoved the chocolate into James's chest and turned to walk away. Wait, James stepped in front of me, his vibe dripping with irritation. If we're just fake partners, shouldn't you at least introduce him? You know, show him off. Mind your own damn business. My stomach twisted. I shoved past James and tried to bolt. James grabbed my arm and yanked me back. What's the rush? You acting this guilty. Does that mean it's fake? You're crazy. Fine. Bring him here. Let me meet him. James gave a tight, hollow smile, the kind that sent chills down my spine. Or I'll tell Auntie about the fake relationship. My body jolted. I flinched back. All right. Fine. Let's do it. Give me a time. How about tonight? We're both off work anyway, and your guy just handed you chocolate. He probably has the evening free. I don't know if James is a lifelong virgin, but I've been single for over 20 years. I scrolled through my entire contact list before finding someone vaguely suitable. My lunch buddy at work. Owen showed up in a flash when he heard about free food, since I had explained the reason in advance. Owen showed up with a bouquet of flowers and handed them to me with a look of deep affection. I stared at his over-the-top expression and gestures. So painfully fake I nearly gagged, and barely managed to mutter thanks. James, meet Owen. I looped my arm through his, leaning into him like we'd been together for years. This is my boyfriend, Owen. He's a beta type. That dinner was one long performance. Every move I made toward Owen was calculated to convince James we were real. Owen was rushing around, shoveling food into his mouth while still turning to mirror my movements. James had been scowling earlier, but somehow, right after Owen showed up, his expression softened. Like he'd just settled in for a show, watching us closely. I was already planning my perfect comeback when suddenly, out of nowhere, James shot me a quick kick under the table. After that, James acted like nothing had happened and looked over with an innocent expression. I was furious and immediately kicked back hard. But James didn't even flinch. He just squinted, his eyes glinting with something way too suggestive. It wasn't like he'd been stepped on, it was more like well, you know. Once Owen had finished eating, he asked if I minded if he went outside for a smoke. Still stewing over James's weird reaction, I waved him off with a quick go on. Not long after Owen left, James followed him. When he came back, only James was there. Where'd Owen go? It's been forever. James didn't answer, he just slid into the seat beside me. The guy you saw earlier isn't my girlfriend. She's an alpha, married, and has 2 kids. When I got downstairs, I told her you'd come looking for me today. Probably brought something. Hearing James' explanation, I realized he had seen through my thoughts. Heat rushed to my face in an instant. I could feel the blush spreading across my cheeks. Why are you telling me this? James grinned. So what? You bring a fake boyfriend just to piss me off. How'd you figure it out? James picked up his chopsticks and stirred the barely touched food in my bowl. You don't like spicy food, but every single thing he's put on your plate tonight is hot. When you two are close, your reaction's stiff, like you're pushing him away. And the most important part, James leaned in, took a long sniff. Your vibe? There's zero trace of it on him. That weird knot in my chest just unraveled. Then I shoved his head back, trying to keep my cool. What the hell are you doing, James? You're this observant. Even explain it to me. Seriously, you're not gonna go after me or something? James called over someone to swap out our bowls and chopsticks. He started piling my plate with mild stuff. Samuel, honestly, back in school, I couldn't stand you at all. You'd always needle me, never let anything go. You had to beat me at everything. I was so fed up, I kept thinking about dragging you into the bathroom and knocking some sense into you. I was instantly doused with cold water, and the flames that had just risen in me were extinguished by a few words from James. James, I'll show you what real anger looks like. James grabbed my fist that was about to strike. But right now, I don't find you annoying at all. Instead, I want to see you every day. Talking back to you feels kind of nice. I hear your words, and it's like you're just playfully teasing me. My heart was pounding like crazy, and all my attention was focused on James. He pried my fingers open and gripped my hand tight. So, Samuel, can I actually go after you? I'm starting to feel something for James. But that doesn't mean I'll just say yes without thinking it through. They say alphas' mouths are made of lies. I was scared James would play me, scared the only one left heartbroken would be me. So, I made a deal with James. If he could pick me up and drop me off from work every morning and evening, rain or shine, for a whole year, then I'd say yes to him. Sounds like a test for James, but honestly, it was way harder on me, because it hadn't been 2 months since James started picking me up and dropping me off, and I was already starting to lose my patience. Every day, the scent of James' pheromones made me feel like I was drunk. During the time in the car, my mind was filled with thoughts of how to push James down and torture him until he begged me. James didn't seem to notice anything off. He showed up on time as always, and still slipped in little surprises now and then. Even his usual bickering wasn't sharp like back in school anymore. Now it just felt playful, like a habit we'd both gotten used to. On the 96th day that James had been insisting on sending me around, he took a leave of absence out of the blue, and this leave lasted for a whole week. No James waiting outside? I felt hollow. Couldn't focus at work, kept zoning out. As soon as I got off work, I grabbed the fruits I'd bought and rushed to James' place. I followed the address James had sent me before and found his rental apartment near the company. I pressed the doorbell dozens of times before James' voice came through the door. Low, thick, like he was holding something back. Hard to make out. Samuel, I'm fine. Go on home. No way. I pounded the door again. Open up. If my mom finds out you're sick and I didn't come see you, she'll kill me. You don't open this door? I'm staying right here till tomorrow. And I dropped to the floor. Oh wow, this hallway's freezing. What if I catch something? Doesn't anyone care at all? Silence from inside the room for a long moment. Samuel, if you open this door, you'll regret it. Who says so? First, Samuel, don't regret anything. And when you're sick, you need someone to take care of you to get better quickly. Come on, James, open the door. I promise I'll take good care of you. It's now or never. James hesitated, then finally cracked the door just enough. A thick wave of information essence poured out through the gap. Just one whiff and my legs went weak. I realized James wasn't really sick at all, but by the time I thought about running, it was already too late. James reached through the crack with one arm and yanked me inside with a force I couldn't resist. Wait! James, stop, please. My resistance only pissed James off more. He pulled up the recording on his phone. My own voice came out of the speaker. First, Samuel, don't regret anything. James' face lit up like a kid who just snatched the last candy. You said yourself you wouldn't regret it. Yeah, I'm not sorry. Since that day, there's been someone else in my bed, a busy presence in my kitchen, and James, someone I can't imagine living without. This sweet little life together, it's only just getting started.